moly, Jim, that boat!
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
Holy moly, Jim, that boat!
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino. What up? It's Friday. How we doing? Ryan in Sacktown with you, coming from the studio here at Fox Sports Sacramento, Kings Court. Dry, nice weather. It was cold this morning, but all good. What are you doing? What do you want to talk about? I was at Kings practice yesterday. Want to dive into that now that trade season is officially kicked off. And I guess one thought right off the bat with that is, should the Kings, should the NBA be concerned about the quote-unquote market? I'm not talking about the assets in the market. I'm talking more about the compensation that the Warriors, who the Kings play tonight, the compensation that the Wizards gave up to get Trae Young. It's a really, really interesting, to me, conversation, because as this CBA continues to roll out, remember, we're in year 2 of this thing. You still got like 5 years. GMs hate it. Owners hate it. Puts a premium on draft picks, drafting, also developing players. But I wonder, as we continue down the next month, when you see big names like Trae Young, it doesn't necessarily have to be a massive name. Let's take the name away. When you see big contracts, is there a premium that's unwritten right now in this market that says if we're taking on a big contract, and yes, Washington will likely extend Trae Young. I don't know at what number. He has a player option for next year. But if you're taking on a contract like that via trade, you can only have like 1 or 2 of those, really 1, on the book. So I think it's a super, super interesting conversation, a very, very interesting conversation. And conversely, you could say, if it's a younger player with some upside, does that make the value on them when you consider attaching first-round picks, second-round picks? Is that where the value is going to come from rather than the big names? Slub, what do you think? Another name out there, Ja Morant. I don't know why this is a surprise. Like, everybody's shocked. The Wizards are taking, or excuse me, the Grizzlies are taking offers for Ja Morant. Duh. they're clearly backing Tomas Asalo, the head coach, in what he wants to do. So fun stuff to talk about. If you're a basketball nerd like me, those conversations are fun, especially with the Kings and the amount of players that they might be willing to part with. We've got some new articles in The Athletic from Sam Amick. Love Sam. He sat down with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I found this really interesting because I'm going to draw a comparison later into the show of what Giannis is doing versus somebody else that used to be in Sacramento, because I think what's playing out in Milwaukee could have played out here. And it actually would have left the team probably worse than they are now, had that played out. Think about that. That's hard to consider. Dude, look at who is here. The casual guy. What's up, man? It's Adam, our wrestling expert. Thanks for being here, dude. Adam and I have been going back and forth all week about something related to wrestling. Like, did you think Kit Wilson's new look, his song, his entrance video, like, were you
below not good?
Or were you like, that was amazing? At first, I didn't know what to make of it, but as the week went on, it just gets better and better and better. Andy, what's up, man? Thanks for being here. Andy Reali, there you go. You related to Tony? NBA trades are ridiculous. Should be no swapping picks, no restrictions. Let's see. Andre, what's up? How hard are we pushing to get LaMelo Ball? I have not heard that name personally. I haven't. I think Kuminga is more likely, but as the Warriors are DNPing Kuminga right now. So they're open to moving him, but the assets have not changed around what the Kings are willing to offer. So if you're going to see Jonathan Kuminga in a Kings uniform, it's going to have to be a three-way trade. It's got to be a three-way. The Warriors need help inside, flat out. They are worst in the NBA in points in the paint. Kings Warriors tonight. Are you surprised at the spread? I guess we shouldn't be surprised by anything right now going on with the Kings and the games, but the Warriors are 14.5-point favorites. Interesting. Warriors aren't playing bad. 7-3 in their last 10. We'll talk about that game more coming up here in a little bit. The only prospect. How's the morale of practice when you're the worst team in the NBA? Generally curious. You really would not be able to tell between them being on a 10-game winning streak and them being where they're at now. When we're let into practice, guys are bubbly, joking around, and remember, they control when we come in to practice. So yesterday, everybody was doing free throws and joking around. You got music playing, guys talking. Scott Perry and Doug were talking. Doug was down talking with Max and Zach, showing them a little something. Doug kind of bounces around, touches each quadrant. There's 2 basketball courts in the practice facility. He touches each half court, goes to talk to each player. But no, like, you would not know. It's bubbly. It's good. It's positive. You have to kind of look beyond that, though, too. You know, you got to look for the nuances when it comes. Like, yesterday was Keon's birthday. So we were joking with Keon, even though he didn't have press availability, wishing him happy birthday, etc. But you have to look beyond that. So, like, when I'm looking at a practice, I want to see if a player is like immediately getting off the court, going into the locker room. I want to see if somebody's just really short with their answers. That tells me more than watching them shoot free throws and joke around, because, and when I say joke around, they're not joking with the free throws. They're taking their free throws serious, but they're having fun. It's after practice. They're chatty. Guys getting their individual work in. So to be honest with you, you really would not know. It does not feel like doom and gloom. Everybody's being professional. And by professional, I mean getting your work in after practice, etc. But it's a really good question. We'll get into it a little bit more. The big news from practice yesterday was Domantas Sabonis. He came out after practice ended, or at least I didn't see him out at first with the free throws. And he started getting some individual work in with a couple of trainers actually on the court. So I can confirm, and I put it out yesterday, he has been cleared for individual on-court basketball activities, non-contact. So it's kind of the first step back. And then when we talked to Zach yesterday, Zach talked about rehabbing with Domas because Zach had the ankle and getting some work in with him. So, Domas is working at it. I know there's varying reports out there, or at least at minimum, internet rumors about Domas being behind schedule. It's not going well. I have not heard anything to that sentiment. I will say this, typically with the Kings, this is just my read based off my experience with them. They don't put somebody on the court, especially in front of the media, to get their individual work in unless it's moving in the right direction. Think about the other times you've seen guys on the court, like Devin Carter. You remember last season where it's like, oh, Devin's at practice, he's watching, and then it's Devin's getting a couple shots up after practice, then it's Devin's shooting free throws, then it's Devin getting work in, and within a day or two, Devin is playing in the game. Keegan Murray, I think, is another good example where we have seen that. So I think we've seen it before with Sabonis as well. So he is listed, is out tonight, him and Keegan Murray. But I would assume, based off that it's going good. And again, that was directly from a team source that he has been cleared for that. So the meniscus thing is tricky because I quite frankly, and I'm not a doctor, but I've also never really understood the whole meniscus injury and the varying degrees of it, because some people get it fixed, surgery, 4 or 5 weeks, 4 or 6 weeks, back on the court. Some guys decide to rehab it instead of having surgery. And then you have guys like JJ McScarthy. Yeah, McScarthy. That guy is so injury riddled. It's not even funny. JJ McCarthy, I don't think he's going to be able to stay on the field in the NFL. Hurt his hand in the last game of the season. Their season's over, but you get my point. Dude gets injured every time he touches the grass. He was out an entire season when he tore his meniscus. His first preseason game of his rookie year. So that's an injury that I would love to know more about. What's up, BJ? Happy Friday. Let's see. Yeah, and I'm not doing it. No. I am not going to be doing that. Andy Reale, no Kuminga, please. Yeah. Look, I am not as concerned as Grant is when it comes to is Kuminga a bad locker room guy? Is he a distraction? Steve Kerr is finicky when it comes to developing players. He gets really hot on a guy, and then they can just completely fall out of his love, of his favor. And when Jonathan Kuminga came into the playoff game after Steph Curry got hurt, he played well. He was professional. He had not sniffed the court for a minute before that. So I go back to what Jerry Reynolds says it all the time. He said it as recently as our post-game show after, which game was it? It was the late game. It was the 8 p.m. No, it wasn't the 8 p.m. It's the one before that. Anyways, Jerry said the Kings, I asked him about expectations at the trade deadline. Where should fans' expectations be about the Kings making a move? And he said he's not as optimistic as some are, but the moves that he would like to see the Kings make are the moves where it's younger guys where you're buying low on their stock. And arguably, if you're not giving up a draft pick to get Jonathan Kuminga, I think you're getting, or even if it's a second round pick, I think you're buying low there. So that's why I said a third team probably needs to jump in for that deal to get done. So I wouldn't mind having him back. And you can look at what the Kings have now. We can you could almost kind of split this thing down the middle. Like if we wanted to do strengths, weaknesses, and in the middle, the front line for the Kings has actually been a real positive this year. Keegan has been injured pretty much from the start of the season, and now he's out again. I was so surprised when Keegan Murray, the press release came out saying 4 to 6 weeks until he's reevaluated for that ankle. Man, it's been a hard season. So I know that's a separate discussion on its own, but look at Precious Achiuwa, look at Max, even Drew Eubanks. I think the front line, Dylan Cardwell, it's been a positive for this team. I think it's kept the team in some games. And yes, I know we've only won 8 games, but it's kept them in some games. And if I had to look at the guards in the backcourt, I don't know. What would you put them at? Would you put that as, well, it can't be a positive. Maybe I'm overvaluing the front line. Maybe that should be a neutral. But where would you put the guards? Positive, negative, or neutral? Very interesting. Actually excited for tonight's game. Interesting, which means you'll be disappointed. I don't know about that. Yes, they are professionals. Indeed. Perspective, living your dreams, making millions of dollars, even if your team sucks. Yeah, you know what? Malik Monk, even when Malik was playing this season, and this is not saying that he was not taking basketball serious and is not taking basketball serious. He absolutely is. But the birth of his son definitely changed his perspective, as it does for a lot of people that become parents. Please don't bring Ja to Sacramento. I would like to have that conversation. I call me crazy. He just feels like he would work here. Just saying. What's up? My man Flores checking in. McCarthy took my fantasy football team to another championship. Are you serious, Peter? He barely played in any games. No, not in the least. No, this is the first season he's really dealt with it. I tore my Achilles a few years ago. I know it's not meniscus, but I didn't have surgery. Like Sabonis didn't, so sometimes depends on the soft tissue and how bodies react. Agreed on Kuminga. Drew has flashes. Some great basketball. Doug need to play him more. It depends. You notice how you didn't see him last game against AD? He's not that type of center, but I agree. One thing about Drew that surprised me was his athleticism. That really surprised me. Like, if you put a list together of how many guys have actually finished an alley-oop this year for the Kings, he probably leads them. Be more concerned about Keegan's offensive output than his injury. Yeah, look, what's up, Ryan Knox? Yeah, look, it's a fair point. I can't sit here and say or make excuses for him. The Kings were running some plays for him. He was getting some good looks. He's got to knock those down. But I would also say you need a larger sample size of Keegan being featured in plays. And it needs to be consistent, 20, 25 games, etc. So one thing that I was really excited yesterday about to be at practice was I wanted to ask Doug Christie about his logic with playing Dennis and Russ at the same time, especially down the stretch. If you notice, he rarely, or at least not lately, has been playing Dennis and Russ together up until the ending minutes of a close game. And many Kings fans, I have felt this way at times, that Doug has gone away from what's working to go to those guys. And so, genuinely curious, what is the logic there? And Doug, speaking of professional, gave me a really good answer.
Well, one of the things is they're two of our best competitors. So when it comes to winning time, about getting a stop, about trying to rebound the ball, about all those little tiny things, that they're really good. So, I understand, do you want shooting? Do you want this? Do you want, yes, but in winning time, sometimes until we get to that point where we know exactly who's in every single time, you just want to compete at a really, really high level. The game's going to come down to a bucket or two buckets. The ball's going to be shot. Who's going to dive on the floor? Who's going to hit somebody in the mouth? Who is going to go and play a physical brand of basketball that gives us a really good chance to win? I know those two dudes right there, they're going to get at somebody. So a lot of times it's that. It'll be different sometimes, but I do know that out of those two guys is they compete at a really high level.
I can't argue that they compete at a hard level. That's true. But there's the other argument. Does having 2 point guards, and Doug brought that up right there, he thinks their compete level outweighs the balance on the court. He's looking at who can make that one play. If you're going to play those two guys together, the ball should be moving twice as fast, theoretically, right? And I asked Dennis yesterday, because Dennis has actually quietly been playing very well with that second unit, and he's been making the extra pass. He had 5 assists in the first quarter last game. Sorry. My bad. Every time I do that, I have to go to the best in Sacramento. Happy birthday again, Keon, yesterday. 26 for Keon. You know what? There we go. If Doug's going to play them together, the basketball IQ theoretically should be through the roof. Dennis has shown an ability to finish tough shots around the rim. They're not always great shots, but he's shown that he can finish them, take the contact, and get to the free throw line. Russ, on the other hand, gets to the free throw line and he struggles. He's always struggled from the stripe. And so when I asked Dennis yesterday about somebody else asked it. It was a follow-up of my question about the second unit. When I asked Dennis, what's going right in that second unit, he said, we're playing fast. We're making the right decisions. Okay. So the next person asks, how can you and Russ play better together? Why is that not working at the end of the games? Gave us the exact same answer. We need to play fast. We need to make better decisions. So what theoretically or what logically would be the next question? All right, well, what do you got to do to play fast, Dennis?
Getting stops as a team, and then, kick aheads early. But I mean, it's our jobs, Russell to start with, and myself to push the pace, and
Okay. Well, it feels like there's a line that it comes up usually. Watch for it tonight, okay? Watch for this tonight. It's usually right around the 3 or 4 minute mark of the second quarter. Write this down. I seriously want you, if you're going to be watching the game, check this out tonight. Right around or right between the 3 and 4 minute mark, look at Russell Westbrook's stat line. If Russell Westbrook has taken more threes than anybody else, if he's not at least +3 in the assists over turnovers, and his free throw shooting's poor, he doesn't really have it. And I know he can turn it on at some point. He's brought the team back. But I guess my question is, at what expense? What would somebody else be doing with those minutes? Yeah, maybe Russ got you 12 minutes in the third quarter, but over that 8-10 minute span, could somebody else have been more productive? Could they have made the ball move more? That's the line that I look at when I judge whether or not I believe Russ has it that night. I want you to look at that tonight. Last game, he did not have it. The other problem is teams are dangling. It's like a fishing pole with a filet mignon attached to it. And that's what they're putting in front of Russ when it comes to the three-point shot. And you can see Russ conflicted because he wants to shoot it. He knows that it's probably not the best shot, but he's Russell Westbrook. It's how he's wired. You're not going to change who he is. And so, okay, he thinks, maybe I'll get to the hoop. And so he starts trying to cross over, takes a couple steps in, takes a couple steps back behind the three-point line. The crowd starts getting, because the shot clock is now at 7, and then he finally shoots that 3. And as of late, it has not been falling. It's the little stuff like that, and I'm not trying to single Russ out. He's helped this team more than he has hurt them this year. But his usage rate is just too much. It's way too much. This is what happened last time the Kings and the Warriors met. Speaking of the guards, Doug was asked straight up yesterday about whether or not Malik Monk would be playing.
We will see. We will see Malik. He, as I said earlier, we give Keon a run. It's going to be, in and out a little bit, but the point is, I love Malik. He's one of my favorites. I'm just talking about as a person. On the floor, coaching, all that different stuff. We make decisions to try to find our way, but we'll see him for sure.
Rhinox, we always put this on Doug, but doesn't he have assistants that have input too? Does the entire coaching staff buy into all of this? It's a great question. Look, dang it. Trying to work that out of my game. The Keon is like my rubber band. my imaginary rubber band around my wrist. Every time I say, I've got to play that. Come on, Rhino. Great question, though. We always put this on Doug. They collaborate. Sure. Part of collaboration is throwing stuff out there that not everybody's going to agree with. And that's the most important part of collaboration, because maybe you meet in the middle. Maybe it spurs a new idea, right? My problem with the coaching staff is how it was put together. Scott Perry did not hire Doug Christie. Grant's been very vocal about that. I was vocal about that during the summer. We told you when Scott Perry did his introductory press conference that Doug Christie was going to be the coach of the team. So Scott Perry did not get to pick the coach. When Doug was starting to build his coaching staff out, what were all the rumors going around? He wants Bobby Jackson. He wants Rhino. He wants Darius Sangaila. He wants ex-players. Leandro Barbosa still on staff. So when Mike Woodson was hired as his associate head coach, it did not make a lot of sense. Mike Woodson was coming straight off of a run as Indiana's, not the Pacers, University of Indiana, their head basketball coach. There wasn't a high demand market for Mike Woodson. It just felt really, really out of right field. If some of you were with us during the summertime on the King's Court, I said, this feels like a fantasy draft. Doug's staff building it out. Scott Perry didn't get to pick Doug, so Scott Perry's going to pick the assistant, the associate head coach. And boy, oh boy, does Mike Woodson fall right in line with all the places Scott Perry's been. He's got the Knicks ties, has the Pistons ties. Then what name do you get next? Bobby Jackson. Sweet. Back in Sacktown. Then Mike Miller. All of you ran thinking, oh my gosh, we got Mike Miller, the shooter from the Grizzlies. I've seen him on YouTube. I've seen him on TikTok. That dude can still shoot. That's awesome. No, not that Mike Miller. Actually, the Mike Miller that for a very short time was the head coach of the New York Knicks on an interim basis. So, more Knicks ties. Do you see the irregularities here? What's the tie between Mike Miller and Doug Christie? So I can't tell you like who's handling what. I know how the coaching staff works in terms of the operation. They rotate who is in charge of a game scout. Certain coaches are more on the offensive end. Certain coaches focus in more on the defense. Most coaches, player development. But whether the Kings, I guess this cuts both ways, right? Because whether the Kings win and are having a great season, or whether they are 8-28, Doug's either going to get the credit or he is going to get the heat. It's never going to fall on the other coaches, nor would Doug allow it to. It's just not how it works. So at the end of the day, Doug Christie is the head coach of the Kings. The decision stops there. And that is where everybody's been a little bit worried. It's like, well, I've expressed it. Like, Doug has to, his basketball IQ is too good to not see these things, to not realize that some of the guys that you are playing the most minutes aren't capable of doing the things that you want to be the standard here in Sacramento. So where is the rubber not meeting the road? Are you being told to play certain people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? That's where this conversation has gone now amongst the fan base. Over the airwaves, is Scott Perry chiming in? Is Vivek Ranadive chiming in? I will say this, though, when it comes to this whole entire Malik Monk situation, after talking to some very connected people, more connected, believe it or not, and I'm saying that jokingly, way more connected than me. This whole Monk sitting out, which Doug said, again, we will see Malik Monk. If you missed that, I'll play that again.
We will see Malik. He, as I said earlier, we give Keon a run. It's going to be, in and out a little bit, but the point is, I love Malik. He's one of my favorites. I'm just talking about as a person. On the floor, coaching, all that different stuff. We make decisions to try to find our way, but we'll see him for sure.
This decision to not play Malik Monk, I don't think it is as much about keeping Malik Monk healthy. He's teed up to be traded. The Kings have moved on from Malik Monk. What I think it is, and we get this question all the time, and we never can usually pinpoint it, but I now will say, I will put my name to it fairly confidently, that Keon Ellis will not be in a Kings jersey next year. Keon Ellis is a free agent this year. Keon Ellis is projected to be one of the top 3-and-D guys available at the deadline. If you know Keon's not coming back, then you need to get something for Keon. And it makes me sick to my stomach to think about losing Keon for the simple fact that he is the poster child of development, of scouting, of playing his way into a role on an NBA team during a CBA where you need productive players on cheap contracts that are home produced and not drafted or drafted late. The Kings have done a wonderful job. Both the Maine Kings and the Stockton Kings. Gabriel Harris, Lindsey Harding, the other head coaches down in Stockton. The development has been spot on. So to see that walk away and go somewhere else, that stinks. In a time that you have to be able to do that. So hopefully that system is still humming and the Kings can do the same with Dylan Cardwell. They gave up on Isaac Jones. So that's what stings for me when it comes to giving up Keon. But playing or not playing Malik Monk, this has been about featuring Keon Ellis. If I made a list of the players that will not be here after February 5th, Keon Ellis is on that list. He's at the top of the list. And there's a team that this city hates that I think might be the front runner for Keon Ellis. Doug was also asked if the decision to play Keon over Malik was one based around defense.
No, I mean, for us, defense is everything. So we need to make sure that we're locking up. And I know, when it comes to defensive ratings and all these different things, Keon has been really good on the defensive end in some areas. Some areas, off ball, I talked to him about squaring up and making sure to keep the guy in front of him, but getting steals and different things like that, he has been great. So it's a yes and no answer, because there isn't really a thing. It was just more of a choice that, we went in one direction for a little bit. Now we're going to give Keon an opportunity.
Makes sense. It makes sense. I hate it for Malik, and he has been such a professional through all this. He deserves so much better. And the gripe is, you can feature Keon Ellis and still play Malik Monk. That's the gripe, right? Especially with the minutes that Russell Westbrook has played. There's room to play both of those guys. I think tonight's a night you have to see Malik. But playing Keon more, Keon right now, the market for him, the Kings really want a late first-round pick for Keon Ellis. We've seen, there have been a lot of scouts at games. I've talked to a few of the different scouts. There's not a team that comes into the G1C and is not looking at Keon Ellis, because I've said this for a year. He's a universal piece. He fits with all other 29 teams in the NBA. Everybody needs a Keon Ellis, especially at that price. So, let's see. Can't even read that from here. Gene Hackman is going to be our next head coach. He did so well with the Hoosiers. Hey, I'll tell you this. Hoosiers 2 is going to be a football movie. Got the college football playoff tonight, wrapping up the semifinals. Indiana and Oregon. Indiana favored by 3 points in this one. I just don't think you're stopping Indiana. Indiana beat Oregon in Autzen Stadium earlier this season. You know my feelings on Indiana. I've laid them out multiple times on the Fox show and then also here on the King's Court. But how about Miami last night? Going home now to play in the college football championship. Trinidad Chambliss has been denied a 6 year of eligibility. That one hurt last night a little bit. I was silently pulling for a national championship of Ole Miss and Indiana, simply because of what those kids went through with Lane Kiffin leaving them. And I'm not a Lane Kiffin hater. I'm not going to sit here and get mad at him for leaving. How many of you would have stayed with that kind of money on the table? Probably not many. One other thing about last night, I'm not going to get into Michael Irvin, but I do want to talk about this. You remember when the Odell Beckham catch occurred? Remember that? Sunday Night Football, Meadowlands, or it was MetLife Stadium. The over-the-head catch. I thought you would never, ever, ever see an in-game catch that could ever come close to that. We're seeing stuff that's coming really close, if not better than that. That catch last night that did not count because the kid's full foot came down. It wasn't a clear toe touch. Incredible. He was 10 feet off the ground. Unreal. Carson Beck finally gets his moment. Let's go to the phones. Who we got? Oh, my man Tay. What's up, Tay? Thanks for calling the show.
Hey, Ryan. Always an honor to talk to you. So thanks for taking my call. Let's first, let's be positive and first give a shout out to Stockton Kings for sweeping the Rio Grande Valley Vipers this week. So go Stockton.
Good job by you.
I don't know how much you covered them now, but that G League team is always strong. So something that the city can always be proud of. So you know, regardless of what happens this trade deadline, you know, I still think fit is huge. So even if we offload on DeMar and Levine, hopefully, Perry still needs to assemble this team based on the fit and not just young pieces. Now that's, you know, it's hard to discern at this point, but um, the problem with this team too was that they had enough talent, but the fit didn't make sense. And even if we get younger and have good young talent, if the fit doesn't make sense, I can see this team still being in the bottom. If you look at Detroit 3 years ago, you could argue that that franchise was in a worse place than the Kings are now. You know, having 17 wins and going on a 22 or 21 game losing streak, but you know, with the right pieces and right type of superstar, they recovered. With Cunningham and you know surrounding him with a legitimate center and shooters. So if we could land on one of the top three picks and Perry can assemble the right type of pieces, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But again, I think fit is huge. Not necessarily cultural fit, but more of basketball fit, I would say. Um, I was at a Clippers and Celtics game about 2 weeks ago just because I live down here in LA, and I think everyone wrote off the Celtics this year because Tatum's not there. And I bring this up because when I saw them, that was the game they blew out the Clippers by 40. And it's just a team with Jalen Brown and a bunch of role players like Derek White, Hauser, Pritchard. I mean, obviously, Brown is a superstar, but when I was seeing that game live, the ball was moving so well. I think the Celtics played a perfect offensive game, and they were all, you know, just sharing the ball, you know, playing, you know, almost, you know, to the perfection. And you know, I can tell that each player knew their role. Just as an
So
example.
important.
So, um, yeah, I just, you know, Perry, you know, preaches his six, you know, or is it principles or whatever, but you know, you and Grant have pointed out that all the other 29 NBA teams want that too, or have that as their default. So, um, yeah, I think it's important whether they're going to be a defensive identity fit team or offensive team. It's just, you know, a lot is on the air, I know. And please don't let Ellis go to the Lakers. I just hate the Lakers. I just can't stand them at all.
Well, defense is what they need. The Lakers have a big decision coming up when it comes to Austin Reeves because you have to look beyond, to me, the LeBron era. LeBron's not going to be in LA past this year. So you have to look at, are the Lakers going to build around Luka and Austin Reeves? Are they going to trade Austin Reeves to try to get some picks? So that decision has to be made. But the Lakers are still third in the West right now. And if they can get some defense, and I don't want Keon to go there either, but it does make a lot of sense. You have Dalton Connect, who's sitting there and not playing. It's a small contract. I think Dalton is one of those guys that just lost his confidence because of that trade. But
and an old rookie too, arguably a little bit old.
Old rookie. Yeah, and you know, you're so right about the roles. When Doug took over as interim, it was one of the things Mike Brown didn't do, and it was a problem in the locker room up until that point. Guys did not know their roles, especially the guys coming off the bench. So Doug Christie lined each man up and said, this is what your role is going to be in front of the entire team. It happened this year at the end of training camp. It was actually the first practice after the preseason ended when it happened, but I don't know if it was in front of the team, and that's when Russ had just come in. So, yeah, you need to be more balanced. And yes, the Celtics, 8-2 in their last 10. Great stuff. I mean, they thought, like you said, this was going to be a down year, but they're playing really good basketball.
Yeah, and again, I think they're playing really good because the fit makes sense. I mean, they're having, who's that center's name? I forget, that used to be in the Kings. Keita. I
Yep,
mean,
Neemias Queta.
by no means is he one of the top centers, but playing within the offense, he knew his role perfectly, and obviously it's thriving. So, just I guess trying to remain patient amongst along with the other fans of what's gonna happen. So
Yes, sir. Hey, Tay, appreciate the call, brother.
yeah, thanks so much, Ryan. Have a great day.
Yep. Be well, brother. Tay, all the way down in L.A. Might be going to L.A. at the end of this month. We'll see. We will see. So this Giannis stuff that I want to talk about really quick. Sam Amick sat down with Giannis to interview him, see where he's at. Remember, Giannis has played this, do I want to be in Milwaukee? Do I not want to be in Milwaukee? He's played this weird. He's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Behind the scenes, he's telling the team one thing. Publicly, he's not willing to say the same. And what did the Bucks do this offseason? Well, even at the trade deadline last year. Since the trade deadline last year, Giannis has had a say in what they do. This summer, they tried to retool, and they, not at the direction of Giannis, but with his signing off, because Giannis wants to play on a championship team. They go out, they get Miles Turner, and you think, okay, maybe this will work. I did not think it was going to work. Now the Bucks, negative net rating, under 500 in the Eastern Conference. And when Giannis sat down with Sam, the headline of the article, Giannis says he'll never ask for a trade from the Bucks. Quote, "That's not in my nature." Giannis is doing the De'Aaron Fox. And yes, I know Rich Paul came out and said that De'Aaron Fox never wanted to leave Sacramento. You know why? It was Rich Paul's idea. We have said that for over a year. Rich Paul circled San Antonio and said, De'Aaron, I think this is, you want to play for a championship? Think you can get paid there too? San Antonio is the place for you. And De'Aaron followed. He listened. And look at what they're doing right now. I want to separate De'Aaron from the actual transaction, because De'Aaron did not do the transaction. Your owner, Vivek Ranadive, did the transaction and made Monty McNair fall on the sword. Vivek Ranadive served up De'Aaron Fox on a silver platter to the San Antonio Spurs. The only thing right now that we can tie in return right now from San Antonio is Max Reno. That's the only thing. The Kings could not get Keldon Johnson. They could not get a young guard. Right? The reason I'm comparing this Giannis situation and the De'Aaron situation is to actually compliment De'Aaron Fox. Whoa. Is your mind blown? I'm complimenting De'Aaron Fox? Rhino, you're the guy that kills De'Aaron Fox. You're a De'Aaron Fox hater. No, I'm not. I was not. But you need to understand, although it's De'Aaron Fox, the same De'Aaron Fox, you would not see what he's doing right now in San Antonio happening in Sacramento. You know why that's happening in San Antonio? One, he's backed by a much better organization, a much more balanced team, and by the way, teammates that challenge De'Aaron, teammates that elevate each other's play. It's not always you. You also need sometimes the people around you. When you're the best player and nobody's challenging you, it can get bland. Now, back to Giannis. What was the thing that De'Aaron said? I never asked for a trade from Sacramento. True. That's true. That is very true. Giannis is playing the exact same game, but here's where the compliment comes in. De'Aaron Fox could have done what Giannis Antetokounmpo is doing right now to the Milwaukee Bucks. He could have done this to the Kings. He could have said, hey, you know I don't want to leave Sacramento. I want to win a championship. I want to win in the next couple years. You need to make some significant moves for me to stay. And the Kings, whether it was Vivek, because that's when, for those that don't know, that is when Monty McNair's decision-making ended. Actually, it kind of ended with the exception of the Valanciunas trade. When Mike Brown got fired, it was all Vivek Ranadive, except for Valanciunas. Want to make that clear. So who knows what would have happened? You may have traded away Keegan Murray. You may have traded away. What I'm saying is Milwaukee is setting themselves up for a Sacramento situation with a Giannis that's kicking the can down the road that has no intention of staying. Giannis wants out, which I'm okay with. I am completely okay with Giannis wanting out. He won a championship in Milwaukee. Milwaukee got their chip. They got their ring. Great. But if Giannis is going to leave, you've got to get something for Giannis. The worst case scenario for the Kings would have been making a ton of moves to satisfy De'Aaron Fox, moves that Fox wanted, that Rich Paul may have been pushing for. And De'Aaron said, oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to resign. I'm definitely going to resign. Nope, you know what? I don't like the way this feels. Even though you've blown everything up and I appreciate it, I'm not going to resign here, so you better trade me now at this trade deadline. Now, Milwaukee has a little bit more time, but De'Aaron didn't do that. De'Aaron was straight up. I respect De'Aaron and Rich Paul for that. Now, the Kings could have handled it better. The Kings could have held on until the offseason, which is the right time to trade somebody like that, which is the time likely Giannis Antetokounmpo will be traded this summer. But at what expense? What are the Bucks going to do? It's kind of the most interesting thing, this trade deadline, to me. What are the Bucks going to do? Are the Bucks going to go out and get Zach LaVine? Are they going to go get Malik Monk? Are they going to bend over backwards to try to make this Bucks team better this year in the East and then have a massive payroll and Giannis leave them in the dust? Because that's where this is headed. Giannis is playing the game I was terrified De'Aaron Fox would play with Sacramento. So credit to De'Aaron for not doing what Giannis is doing right now. It's insane. If I'm Milwaukee, I am pulling the ripcord. I am not making any moves at the deadline. And I'm speaking without any, I'm not putting any Kings fandom into this. Because, yes, it would be nice to get the LaVine contract off the books. But this train is running down a track that runs off a cliff. The Milwaukee Bucks, if they continue allowing Giannis to play this game and to sign off on the moves, and you know why Giannis isn't trustworthy? It's been shown so many times. He signed off on Dame Lillard's buyout. And then publicly he says something else. You remember Dame Lillard's reaction to that? I mean, Dame was happy because he wanted to come. He wanted to be able to rehab in Portland and be with his family when he was still on the Bucks. They wouldn't sign off on it. But Giannis said, "Oh, I didn't have anything to do with it." Yes, you did. I just don't like when players play this game because it can ruin a franchise. And if you are dumb enough as an owner to not catch on to this and look at the sample size, not even the sample size of Giannis's time in Milwaukee, but the sample size of this period of, is Giannis going to stay? Is Giannis going to go? Look at what we've already done for Giannis. And look at what he's doing. I'll never ask for a trade. Like, come on, man. Be a man and say, I want to go somewhere else. I want to play in a big market. I want to win a championship with another team. Do that because your actions publicly indicate that. But there's no doubt in my mind privately. He's chummy in the Bucks, chum in the waters. Oh, yeah. No, this is where I want to be. I'd never ask for a trade. Just wait. Just wait what's coming. And pay attention to what the Bucks do at this deadline. It's going to tell you where they stand with Giannis. It's going to tell you exactly where they stand with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Crazy stuff. Like, anyways, what are your thoughts on that? And I mean that. That was my biggest fear for the Sacramento Kings. That the good at that time, and remember, you were coming off of 48 and 46 win years. Last year, 40 wins, right? Nobody anticipated this being what it is. But had the Kings, De'Aaron, I'm very grateful De'Aaron was straight up. And Rich Paul was straight up. But Giannis is doing the play on words, which is right out of the playbook of De'Aaron Fox. But De'Aaron had the morals, the ethos not to do what Giannis is doing behind the scenes. Insane. Aaron says 100% Rhino. Nutty. Should have kept Halliburton. Should have kept Mike Brown and should have drafted Luka Alvavec. You know, appreciate you, Lisa. Yes, you should have drafted. Okay. Yes on Luka, but with the caveat, I don't know that the marriage between the Kings and Luka would have been any different than the marriage between the Kings and the Mavericks. 2, I don't know that Kings fans would have really enjoyed watching Luka 82 times a year. But yeah, your team would be better. There were other teams that passed on him as well. Mike Brown, you know, we can go both ways on that. I think we can all agree the way Mike Brown was broken off. That was the worst part of that. Yep, a lot of these shoulda, couldas. How does Anthony Davis keep getting hurt? Now his hand, I'm having trouble understanding how he keeps getting bad luck with injuries all the time. It's insane. Street clothes. Street clothes Davis.
That just is unacceptable.
You can't, I can't get on him for getting hurt. It's not like he plans it, but definitely a trend. And for Dallas fan, my oh my. One other thing about Dallas, Klay Thompson does not look himself. He does not. I honestly, I turned to somebody else in the media a couple of nights ago, and I said, do you think Klay's really going to be able to make it beyond this year? He just does not look good. Does not look like, and I'm not even talking about like looking like Klay Thompson of the old physically. He just, the movement, even his shot doesn't look the way it used to. It was funny. We were coming out of the media dining room, the media hall, whatever you want to call it, down below. It was me and Sean Cunningham and somebody else. And all of a sudden, this guy comes along and he's got a security thing in his ear, but he doesn't have the Kings jacket on. We're like, what the heck's going on, right? And this like group of people come stand by the elevator, and I'm like, oh, okay, they're going up to the suite level. Maybe that's some other guy for the Kings. So we go to get on the elevator with all them, and the security guard goes, no, stop. You need to wait for the next one. Sean knew the score. I didn't. Apparently, it's whoever Klay Thompson is dating. She's like a rapper or something. I didn't know who she was. But yes, that was weird. That was actually really funny. One other thing, really quick, before we wrap up. Don't forget, we are not too far away from being on Fox Sports Radio here at the top of the hour. Make sure you join us on the Grant Napier Show. Lot to go over today. College football playoff. We get you ready for the NFL playoffs. Grant and I feel a little bit different about the 49ers game. I kind of think the Niners, just something feels like the Niners are going to at least win one game in the playoffs. What do y'all think? We'll get to it. Indiana, shout out to Damon Bruce, who is in Atlanta to root on his Hoosiers. They'll be taking on the Oregon Ducks. The Hoosiers' physicality is just too much. They're a throwback team. Like back in the days where guys stayed at teams for 4 years, 5 years, that all are playing the same way, that are just built unbelievably, that function as one. A team that could tell you, hey, we're running student body right this play, and they would still get 10 yards and pancake you. They just feel like that team. And Oregon has had trouble with physicality. Fernando Mendoza, different dude. You could slap it when he was in college. If you do the comp with the way these two play in the IQ, different players. But if I slapped Manning on the back of his jersey, a lot of people would believe it. Grant said he'd believe it. With Mendoza, different cat. Super different cat. Last thing that I wanted to touch on, any last messages? Let's get to them because we're going to wrap up here in a few minutes. I wanted to touch on, one more time, the Trae Young trade. When Grant and I talked about it yesterday on the air, I said I would not be surprised if Trae Young does not play that much this year. He's listed as out tonight, and now there's reports that he might not play for a while. And if he does play, it's going to be sparingly. He's dealing with a sprained MCL and a quad contusion that have been going on for a while. If you're Washington, your ideal situation is to get as high of a pick as you can this year with Trae Young. Sit him out. Sit him out. Now, the interesting part about this is it is a legit injury. It's been on the books before the trade. But if this drags out to March, early April, is there going to be an argument with as strict, by the way, as the NBA is right now with injury reporting and tanking? Is there going to be an argument that Washington tanked? They intentionally held out Trae Young? By the way, Washington's pick right now, they retain it. I believe it's top 8 protected. It might be top 4 protected. So if Washington starts winning games, they will lose their pick to the Knicks. Could lose their pick to the Knicks. So I think it's interesting to watch how that will continue playing out. It's the Friday edition. Kings Court getting ready to bring you home.
Hello, Friday.
Anything closing you want to get to? We're going to start doing more and more of these, especially when the Kings are on the road. It's much easier to sneak in a Kings Court while the Kings are in the road. And then I like to at least lead you in or get you close to the time that Grant's going to be on the radio here in just about 45 minutes. We are just about there. Looking forward to the NFL playoffs. We will do our picks today. Liam will be picking for me. He went 3-1 last week. Chase Napier went 3-1 last week as well. So we got to get, I do not have Liam's picks yet. So we got to get those. Kings and Warriors. Flores, I kind of feel like this is a game the Kings might win. And I do think this is a game that Malik Monk's going to get minutes. Here's my talking with some people around the team. The smart thing to do right now is to send Nick Clifford to the G League for a couple of weeks. When Stockton has an extended home run, which I think is what they're waiting for, send him down for a couple of weeks and let him get some confidence back and plug in Devin Carter. Let him get some run. He can play a little bit at that 3. He's long enough because Nick's problem right now is confidence. The game's not too fast for him. It's confidence. So I'd like to see that happen. I do think you see Malik Monk tonight. We'll talk more about this game at 3 p.m. on Fox Sports Sacramento. This game, so I was looking at it. You were not. The Kings are 14.5-point underdogs. What do y'all think about that? 14.5 points. You know, the Kings did win the first meeting. Coffee. Hard to believe. Oh, no, that was last year. Excuse me. They have not played this year, have they? Anyways. No, 11-5. That was this year. Okay. All right. It's been such a long season, and we're not even halfway there. It's all right. Love it. Win, lose, bad or good, it is still a pleasure to get to talk sports and do this and hang out with all of you. All right, join us again. Fox Sports coming up 3 o'clock. Do you guys want Ja Morant? Hearing tons of chatter on this. I'm in the minority. I'm in the minority there. I would not mind a Ja Morant, Zach LaVine deal. I would be okay with it. 100%. Ja needs a change of scenery. Now, it's a big risk. It's a massive risk. It's crazy risk. But I just think it might work. I really do. We'll see. Anyways, we'll debate it. Kings lose by more than 20. Yeah. Yes, they do. Yes, they do indeed. Hey, appreciate y'all. best fans in the NBA. Thanks for being here. Have a great and safe weekend. Hopefully you can join up with us again here in about 20 minutes, 45 minutes. We will be going live, Fox Sports Sacramento. By the way, before we sign off, you can download the KSAC Fox Sports Sacramento app for free, Google, Apple Play. Other thing that I wanted to tell you, we've got some announcements coming up about the show and some changes to the presentation of the show that are going to be rolling out. So you're going to want to listen for those. And the show right now streams to X. It streams to YouTube. Go follow Fox Sports Sacramento on YouTube. And we're temporarily sending it to If You Don't Like That as well right now. So if you want to watch or listen to the show there, you can catch it as well. But make sure you download the KSAC app. You're going to want to have that. And you're definitely, trust me, going forward, because the show will not be on this channel if you don't like that consistently in the future. So if you want to find out about what those digital changes are going to be with the show, and you want to be able to listen to it on YouTube or X, please go follow at Fox Sports KSAC. You want to make sure you do that. Appreciate you all. Have a great weekend. We'll be back tonight with the post-game show. Jerry, Grant, myself, can't wait for it. No, he is not on an expiring contract. John Morant, no. Zach LaVine has a player option next year. I believe it's in the neighborhood of 40. Let me tell you right now before we sign off. Just for you, Lisa, let me give you that number right now. Zach LaVine's player option next year is $48.9 million. Pretty much $49 million option. It's a big number. All right, we're out. Go Kings, light the beam. Court dismissed.